Welcome to the GAVIN Fi Podcast, created and hosted by the GAVIN Financial Services PR team. GAVIN is a national brand communications agency that specializes in public relations and digital marketing for financial services clients. I'm your host, Sophie Hanneken, and each episode we collaborate with industry leaders, media professionals, and other interesting voices with unique perspectives to explore the crossroads between public relations and financial services. On today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Constance Craig-Mason, founder and executive director of Money Talks Movement and CEO at Concierge Financial Advisory. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and Money Talks Movement?
Absolutely. So I am the founder and executive director of the Money Talks movement. It actually started as a movement about 6 years ago, where we were in the midst of the pandemic and we were all uncomfortable across the globe. And my husband and I decided that we wanted to add some kind of value. We wanted to be a part of the solution for those who were having to pivot or who were uncomfortable with the unknowns of the time. And we got together with some other married professionals, some other entrepreneurs or dualpreneurs, as they call it, where you work a job and you also have a side business. And we decided to have these uncomfortable yet transformative conversations about money and the economy, marriage, even, and how they're navigating it all. And we were able to do this in an online format initially. We did put out some book projects, and it just continued to evolve year over year, where we had this safe space online as well as in person, where we could kind of lead these conversations. And it has evolved into a nonprofit now, as of the top of 2025. And we're very excited about all the innovative things we've been able to accomplish, such as the book projects. We also have a financial empowerment toolkit, as well as an online community and a podcast. So we're just really excited about all the different partnerships that are showing up to add value to what we started over 6 years ago now.
Great. Excited for our conversation today, where we'll be exploring how financial wellness extends beyond budgeting and investing, and how you help your clients heal their financial trauma, build confidence, and increase financial literacy. So to get started, we're going to discuss a little bit about financial wellness and what that is. So your work emphasizes financial wellness as a holistic process. How do you define financial wellness for yourself?
It's funny, I actually didn't define it. I found out about it several years back, and I saw it on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's website. And they have made it more popular. They didn't coin the phrase, but it really is your ability to handle your current and your future obligations, feel secure about your future, and make decisions that allow you to enjoy your life. Now, that sounds like a really long definition. So I often like to break it down in conversation with people to give them an idea of, if you were to use this definition as, say, a checklist for how you would know for yourself if you were well. So, for example, are you able to handle your expenses, your creditor payments, have savings left over, right? Are you able to do that now as well as in the future? And if you are able to do that, then of course you would feel secure about your future. And if you are feeling secure about your future, then you'd also be able to make decisions now that allow you to find joy. So it's not the once I retire, I'll be able to enjoy my life, or once I become a homeowner, I'll be able to enjoy my life. If these things are working together for you now, it will allow you to be able to create those moments of joy that you look forward to, and not just in the buy and buy.
What would you say your clients most often misunderstand about financial wellness?
Yeah, that they think it's really all about the numbers. They think it's all about how much they have saved and invested over time. They just look at the math of it all. But I'd like to impress upon them, one, of course, understanding what the definition means, using it kind of as a checklist, as I said, but also being able to know that if we just break it down into two words, we're really talking about security and joy. And so if we're able to break it down to those two things, then when we need to have financial conversations that do involve the math, then you know that it's for an intentional purpose. And if we get this math right, then we are able to find those moments of joy. And joy, just like discomfort, is contagious. So when you find that people are light and that they are smiling and that they are enjoying their day, it is contagious. And people want to know, well, what is it that has you so amped up? What is it that has you smiling each day? And yes, it can be coming from a financial well place.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Security and joy are extremely important in everyday life. So, how would you describe your typical client profile?
You know, I spend a lot of time with pre-retirees, but I also spend a lot of time with those that are just beginning to build their nest egg, if you will, and even people who have had some challenges where they're having to start all over. I find that the common thread between both of those categories, those who have saved and invested for a while and those who are just getting started or having to restart, is that there's still some level of fear that's involved. There's still some level of uncertainties that they have. And so where I come into play is I help them understand the money. I help them understand, how emotions and trauma play a role in how they are managing their money and what they are modeling before those that are watching. But to that point, it's, bringing a person in who is willing to be open and authentic and share these vulnerable things with me, because oftentimes it's not just the math, and we've arrived to where we are for an unknown amount of reasons. So if they're able to be positive and forthcoming and go along with the process, I find that oftentimes people will want to deviate from processes that are normally in place to help us. But sometimes that structure gets a little bit difficult for people. And I just tell them, if you stick this out, you will be able to see the benefit of the hard work that you put in, the consistency that you put in. So I would say they all have that common thread of some level of fear, but it's usually rooted in uncertainties. But then they also can kind of feel a bit unnerved about following the process through to the end so that they can see the results.
Well, when you start working with a client, how do you evaluate if they would benefit from a partnership with you? Or when you meet someone, how do you evaluate whether they would benefit from that?
It's so funny because in my world, financial world, we do have like a bunch of different checklists, if you will, and frameworks and concepts. And I was able to create I call it a prospect decision filter, where I looked at my entire book of business and it seemed that most of these people have a certain vibe. They have a certain energy to them. And I just started realizing some of the common words that came up when I thought about my entire book. And some of those words were like openness. There was shared values between myself and them. They would, of course, be willing to go along with a process, a proven process. They are realistic about their goals, right? And then they also are willing to invest in their growth, right? So I could create all kinds of frameworks, if you will, but if they are not willing to do the rollover or whatever it's going to take for them to get to the next level, then they're going to stay in a stuck space. So when I looked at all the characteristics that my general book of business had, it was those few things. And I was like, wow, they actually are like me, because I am that way. I am open-minded and I'm positive and I'm someone who is willing to go along with a proven process. So I find that not just looking at people as, client acquisition, how much assets do they have, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of I'm going to be in relationship with these people for many years. And when I see their name come across my phone directory or an email pop up in my inbox, I want to be excited to respond. I want to be, calling you right back. But it comes down to, as I'm curating, what are these characteristics that stand out? And kid you not, they all have this similar vibe to them, and I love it.
I love that. That is really important, making sure that it is a mutually beneficial relationship, because I feel like you can best serve your clients when you know that you're on the same page and you can be a guide for them. Many people often feel ashamed by a lack of financial knowledge and overwhelmed by all the financial jargon that there is. How do you take a complex topic and simplify it to help your clients build their knowledge, their comprehension, and their confidence?
I think it's kind of a unique thing for me. I'm a reader, I'm an avid learner, so I can go dig into very complex things. But when I spit it back out to prospects, clients, partners, I'm able to do it in a way that's conversational. I'm able to even draw it out, sketch out an idea in front of them. And I also will find a quick little video that makes it a little bit more clear because I know that people learn at a different pace and they learn in different ways. So, in the finance field, of course, we're used to having a bunch of different statements and Excel sheets and PDF documents. But I find that sometimes people don't connect that well, but they do connect to authentic conversations. They do connect to even stories. So, I will share a bit of my own story with them. I will share a bit of case study from other people I may have helped in the past. And that kind of makes the concepts come to life rather than just trying to define a bunch of jargon, if you will, and they don't feel connected to those words.
You did touch on this a bit, but what communication strategies or other methods do you often find most effective in helping your clients understand financial wellness?
That's a great question. I actually have a glass board behind me, and I often get up and I will draw illustrations. Oftentimes there are frameworks that kind of give them an idea of like, how do you accurately prioritize your assets or how do you accurately give each dollar a job? And so I will often get up and draw it out. And then I will add their values to those drawings. So this means that I've had to have great conversations, listen well, so that now I can take the money that we've been talking about and then tie your values to it. And then, even some of my own stories, the things that I've experienced, lived experiences to kind of pull it all together. So I find that a lot of times when I get up on that glass board, they're like, "Ooh, what's about to happen now?" And I love that it's so unique because these graphics, these drawings get very detailed because it's based on what we have discussed. And they love that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Everybody learns a little bit different. And I know for me, I'm more of a visual learner. So any sort of graphic or drawing that I can see how that would be really helpful. Shifting gears just a little bit, what do you think financial trauma looks like to you?
I will say, well, first off, what is financial trauma? It really is the emotional component, the mental component that comes down on a person who's experienced some kind of financial loss. So, a financial loss could be something like, unfortunately, you lose a home, you lose your vehicle, you lose your job, even a divorce, things like that. It can even be things tied to when you were growing up, things that you witnessed in your own primary home, such as things that your parents or guardians were experiencing that you as a child felt the energy of that. And now it's still showing up in your adult life because you're living the residuals of that. So, to answer the question, what does financial trauma look like? It can look like someone who has gone through a financial challenge, and because of that, they are a bit guarded with information. They might hide the facts, right? They don't want to look at the bank statements or the credit card statements because to them, it reminds them of a time where maybe they didn't have the income, so they were swiping the credit cards a little bit more than they would have liked to. Or you might find that people, such as credit, maybe the credit score isn't as high as you'd like it to be for the goals that you have. So again, it's like, I don't know when the last time I checked my credit report, but it's like hiding it doesn't make it go away. So avoiding the truth or avoiding the numbers can be another way that people who have been financially traumatized how it shows up in their everyday life. Even having arguments with your loved one or your partner where you're on two different pages because of the unique experiences that you've had, and you can't seem to bring those two lifestyles and those two understandings together. I believe in self-awareness. So if you're able to become aware of the symptoms, then you know how to dig down and get to the root of the issue. So I often tell people, just take a look at it, whatever it is. Take a look at the statement, take a look at the scores, take a look so you know what your baseline is so that when you begin to make the progress, you can celebrate yourself because you then now know what that journey has been like.
What emotional or behavioral barriers do you see that hold your clients back from achieving their financial goals?
Similar to what I was just sharing with the avoidance. if a person is avoiding bringing in statements so that I might be able to make an assessment, not just them looking at it, but myself looking at it. There's some fear, there's some shame along with things that may have happened in someone's life. And oftentimes it can be a third party thing, such as what we all experienced with COVID. It could be something like what we experienced with the new administration that had come in, where jobs were shifting around, a lot of different grant programs and things were leaving. So, these third party things that are no faults of your own can also cause an emotion for people to feel helpless even. And so when that happens, you want someone around you or people around you who can give you grace when you are feeling these big emotions, but that also can guide you in the direction of, well, what's the next step? Right? We're going to feel what we feel, but what is the next step that we need to take in order for you to begin to progress and see yourself in a different space?
How do you adjust your communication style to better support those clients that you encounter who are experiencing those barriers?
Yeah, I would say authenticity. I'm a storyteller by nature. And if I get a sense that a person is becoming guarded in the conversation, or they might have a spouse in the meeting that's not as open as maybe the other spouse is, then I will ask open-ended questions to kind of draw that person in a bit more. I might share a little bit of my own challenges that I've had in my personal life or even as a business owner, just so that they can know that I'm sharing my vulnerability and this is a safe space for you to do that. And I will also say to people, I've said it all the time, let's say it's an intake. I say, much like when you go to the doctor's office, and you have these symptoms, the doctor doesn't know how to treat you unless you give them the narrative of what you've been experiencing. And then they know how to direct you towards whatever tests or assessments are needed. And then they can come up with a solution for you that makes sense, is very custom to you. So if you withhold information or you're guarded or you're fearful or ashamed of what you have experienced, it makes it that much more difficult for me to narrow in what it is that you need so that you can begin to feel better and so that you can begin to move to the next level. And now you have people that might be watching, right? You might have children, you might have grandchildren, and they are watching how you navigate tough times and how you navigate times where income or revenue might be a little bit more reduced than you would like. So I try to be as authentic as I can and ask open-ended questions so that they can be more willing to open up for the purpose of their growth.
As we've mentioned, financial literacy gaps are pretty widespread across the country and are sometimes tied to shame or avoidance. How do you approach working with clients who feel behind or embarrassed by their lack of financial knowledge?
I always lead with financial literacy. I myself grew up in poverty back in Maryland, where I was born. And what I realized once I became a young adult was that there was so much I did not know about money. I mean, the basic fundamental things. And when I look back, I realized that my mom didn't know and her mom didn't know. And so when I find that people are saying that, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon, or I don't know anything about the stock market, or I don't understand about this retirement stuff, it's like it opens up for me a way to be able to lead with literacy. So people always want to know, what's the best thing I can invest in right now, or what's the highest rate of return that I can get? And I will always share with them, it's investing in you. Meaning, if you come here and investing in you means getting a little bit more literacy around how money works, then that is an investment well made. You are the greatest investment, and that return will never disappoint you. So I always lead with literacy in the aha moments that then lead to the strategy. Because I can present a strategy all day, but if you don't understand how money works, it's going to feel like a sales pitch or something like that. And that's why another reason why we definitely lead with understandings.
In your experience, what types of financial content resonate the most with clients who are looking to improve their financial literacy?
I would definitely say video content. I have some video out there. I'm looking to get a lot better with it, but I do use video content in my office meetings, as well as, like I mentioned before, diagrams. I'm an avid person of just illustrating for a person how this actually works. And then even cheat sheets. I find that people don't have time to read chapters of information. They don't have time to go and Google, and then a bunch of different websites will pop up for them. because that can also make you feel stuck too, because you don't know who to believe, which is accurate information. So the cheat sheets that we create for clients is an easy way for them to pick a topic and look on a one page and say, aha, that makes sense. And then they can move forward with whatever it is that they just learned.
I'd love to hear a story from a client experience where you've had to use different communication tactics or presentation styles to help them better understand their finances. If you could share an anecdote.
Yeah. So one of the things that I often do when we're face to face in office is, again, I pull up my illustrations. I might play a 60-second video of something that provides a little bit of literacy. But then when I send them home, I will send them home with a recap and links that they can click on so that they can go back to the information once they're home and settled with their spouses or even their adult children who might want to be interested in what it is that they're doing. So the majority of the clients that I deal with in office are pre-retirees, those that are heading towards retirement in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years. So when I'm providing this literacy, I look at it as a life skill. And when I'm able to share this life skill with people that are older than me, they see me as an extension of their family or an extension of their village. And so I have so many stories of people who come in thinking, oh, I just want a little bit of help with how do I file my Social Security. And by the time we end the first meeting, they are so comfortable. They might be a little bit disturbed because there are some things that they still don't know yet, but they're eager to come back in. And so when they come back, they're excited about what they've learned. They know that I have something in mind that's going to help them to clear up some of these uncertainties. And that seems to be the routine, right? You learn, you engage, you go home with some homework, you come back, you get a recommendation, and that is a custom recommendation. No cookie cutters over here.
How do you think approachable communication plays into helping your clients become more confident, informed decision makers?
It's everything. And I say that because people can be guarded as it relates to money, and they can have these fears or unknowns, but they lead by the energy in the room. And I feel like as a leader in this financial space, it's up to me to help people get out of their own way. So if I know that the potential for you to come in and be guarded is there, I have to be unguarded when I greet you. I have to be unguarded when I seat you and when we begin to have these intentional conversations. So we need the walls to be down in order for transformation to take place. And so I have to lead that experience. And I'm always so grateful when people can be disturbed by the things that they don't understand yet, but they know and they have the confidence that when they come back, I'm going to be that partner that shares solutions that are custom to them and that they know that they don't have to do this alone.
How do you envision the future of financial wellness evolving in the industry over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's doing a phenomenal job. I must say that a lot of my peers dig a bit deeper than I do in the financial wellness space from the perspective of, like, I have some colleagues that are certified financial social workers, that are financial coaches. And I myself, being an investment advisor, financial planner, and an insurance broker, I too kind of dabble in the wellness space. But if they need something a bit deeper than what I offer, such as speaking with one of those social workers or financial coaches, I have no problem at all making a referral, right? Because I want people to be able to understand the link between their emotional and mental health, as well as how the money matters take place. So, I'm seeing good activity. I also sponsor a lot of mental health causes, as well as the ones that provide financial literacy, because I do believe they do go hand in hand. People aren't always anxious about money. Sometimes they're excited about money, but we need to understand that there is a journey that you're going on. And today you might be feeling great, but then the stock market may crash and then you're feeling horrible. And depending on how close you're getting to your retirement years, it might take a while for you to get that confidence back of, I can really do this, or do I have to delay my decisions? So I find that we're doing a really good job of, in the financial professional space, the licensed space, of having more intentional conversations about how they feel about what they're looking at, what they are experiencing. And yes, maybe even making a qualified referral to someone who takes it a bit deeper than what we are able to offer.
All right. Well, thank you so much for such an insightful conversation, Dr. Constance.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I'm on all your favorite social media platforms as my name at C. Craig Mason. And of course, on my website, conciergefg.com.
Be sure to sign up for our quarterly GAVIN Fi newsletter at evolving-influence.com/GAVIN Fi for more insights, curated stories, and agency resources to help you explore the latest marketing strategies and industry trends. For more episodes of the GAVIN Fi podcast, visit our YouTube channel, Gavin Advertising York. To get in touch with us, email us at gavinfi@gavinadv.com. Thanks for listening to the GAVIN Fi podcast. New episodes drop every quarter, so stay tuned for the next one.